Welcome to JT Scary Tales. 3 true P. Diddy horror stories. The dark side of fame. Not all Hollywood parties are glamorous, some are nightmares. A musician, lured by promises of fame, finds himself trapped in a locked room with no escape. A model receives an offer so disturbing, she realizes she must run or lose herself forever. An aspiring artist attends an elite party, only to uncover the horrific truth behind Diddy's private gatherings. No phones, no cameras, no way out. They barely survived to tell their stories. Will you dare to listen? Story 1. The nightmare at Diddy's private lodge. Fame, power, money. I used to think those were the ultimate goals in life. I wanted to make it big in the industry, to be someone. And when I got the chance to attend one of P. Diddy's exclusive private events, I thought it was my big break. I had no idea I was walking into a nightmare. The invitation. I was just another struggling musician trying to get my foot in the door. I had been hustling in LA for years, playing gigs, networking, doing whatever it took to land that golden opportunity. Then I met the prince. That's what everyone called him. A rich, well-connected man who claimed he could introduce me to the right people who ran the music industry behind the scenes. He invited me to a private event hosted by none other than P. Diddy himself. Not one of his flashy Hollywood parties, this was different. A private getaway in the mountains, where only a select few VIPs were invited. This is where the real deals happen. The prince told me. I should have said no. But I didn't. Arrival at the lodge. The place was breathtaking, a massive luxury cabin, tucked deep in the mountains, surrounded by thick snow. There were no neighbors, no nearby towns, just miles of wilderness. Inside, the party was low-key compared to what I expected. No flashing lights or roaring music, just a group of powerful men in expensive suits, sipping whiskey by the fire. I saw a few familiar faces, industry executives, famous producers, even a couple of A-list artists. The kind of people who could change my life with a single handshake. Then I saw him. Diddy. He was laughing, drinking, perfectly at ease, the king of the castle. And when our eyes met, he smiled. That smile didn't feel right. It felt like he already knew who I was. Like I had been chosen for something. Something feels wrong. As the night went on, the atmosphere shifted. One by one, people started disappearing, not all at once. Just slipping away from the main room, escorted by Diddy's security. When I asked one of the waiters about it, he just smiled and said, "VIP experience. You'll get yours soon." That's when I noticed something else. The phones. When I arrived, they had taken my phone, saying it was a privacy measure. But I saw one of the guests, a big-name rapper, try to check his phone and get shut down immediately. No one was allowed to record anything. That was the moment I realized I had no way out. I should have left right then. But it was already too late. The locked room. An hour later, one of Diddy's security guys walked up to me. "Come with me. Diddy wants to talk to you." I felt my stomach drop. I followed him down a long hallway, my heart pounding. He led me to a room at the back of the lodge. It looked like a normal guest room, except the door had a lock on the outside. Inside, the air felt too warm, like too many people had been in there recently. Then I saw the camera on the ceiling, red light blinking. I turned back toward the security guy. "Nah, man, I don't think this is for me." He just smiled and locked the door. The whispered warning. I ran to the door, pounding on it. "Let me out." Nothing. Then I heard it, whispering. I spun around, realizing I wasn't alone. In the corner, a woman was crouched, shaking. She was wearing a silk robe, her makeup smeared. Her eyes darted to the door, then back to me. "You need to act normal," she whispered. "If they think you're freaking out, it'll be worse." "Worse? Worse how?" I demanded. She just shook her head, eyes filled with pure fear. I felt a shadow fall over me. The door had opened again, and Diddy was standing there, watching. The offer. He walked in slowly, closing the door behind him. "Having fun?" he asked, his voice casual, too casual. I couldn't answer. My throat had gone dry. He smiled again. That same cold, knowing smile. "You came here because you wanted to be successful," he said, stepping closer. "I can make that happen." But you have to prove you belong in this world. I swallowed hard. What do you mean? He didn't answer. Instead, he gestured toward the woman. Show me how bad you want it. I froze. This wasn't just a party. This was something else. Something sick. Something evil. I turned toward the woman. But she was staring at the floor. Her hands clenched into fists. She had done this before. I felt like I was going to be sick. I don't want this, I said, my voice shaking. Diddy chuckled. Then why are you here? The escape. My hands were sweating. My pulse was racing. I needed to get out. But Diddy wasn't letting me go. He stepped closer, his hand gripping my shoulder. His voice dropped to a whisper. You'll get used to it. Everyone does. That was it. That was the moment I knew, if I didn't leave now, I never would. I shoved him away, hard. Before he could react, I bolted toward the door. The security guy lunged at me. But I twisted past him, sprinting down the hallway. I didn't care where I was going. I just needed to get outside. I heard shouting behind me, footsteps pounding on the wooden floors. Then, up ahead, I saw the prince. He was standing near the entrance, watching me with a smug grin. He had known exactly what was going to happen tonight. I didn't stop. I plowed past him, throwing open the front door and running into the snow. No phone, no car, just cold, endless darkness. But I ran anyway. The aftermath. Somehow, I made it out. I found a road, flagged down a passing car, and got the hell out of there. When I got back to LA, I tried to tell people what had happened. But no one wanted to hear it. The industry is built on secrets, on fear, and if you speak out, you disappear. Now, whenever I see Diddy on TV, smiling, laughing, acting like he owns the world, I remember that night. I remember his voice in my ear. You'll get used to it. And I wonder how many others never made it out. Story 2. Trapped in Diddy's mansion, the artist's worst nightmare. Fame, influence, power. Every aspiring musician dreams of making it big, of being discovered by the right people. Getting the right connections. That's what I thought was happening when I got invited to one of P. Diddy's exclusive parties. But this wasn't about music. It was a trap. The invitation. I had been grinding in LA for years, trying to break into the music industry. Every gig, every meeting, every handshake. I was doing whatever it took to get noticed. Then, I met a producer. I won't say his name, but he was well connected, worked with some of the biggest names in hip-hop. One night, he pulled me aside at an event and said, "You got something, man, a real sound. I know someone who would love you." Then came the invitation, a private party at P. Diddy's mansion. This is how it happens. Bro, the producer told me, this is how you get put on. I should have known better. I should have asked more questions. But I didn't. Because I was too busy chasing the dream. The mansion. The place was massive, a sprawling estate in Beverly Hills, tucked away behind high gates, guarded by men in suits with earpieces. The second I stepped inside, I could tell this wasn't just any Hollywood party. The air smelled of expensive liquor, perfume, and something else, something sickly sweet, like incense covering something rotten. The place was packed with celebrities, rappers, singers, athletes, actors. Some people I grew up idolizing were just casually walking around, laughing, drinking. It felt surreal. Then, I saw him. P. Diddy. He was standing near the bar, surrounded by people, talking in hushed tones. He wasn't just a host, he was in control. And when our eyes met, he smiled. Not a friendly smile, a knowing smile, like he already knew what was going to happen. The warning signs. As the night went on, I started noticing things that didn't feel right. No one had their phones. When I tried to check mine, a security guy told me, "No cameras at this party. House rules." Certain people kept disappearing. 1 minute, they were there, laughing, drinking, and then suddenly, they were gone. The mood was off. At first, it felt like just another celebrity event. But as the hours passed, the atmosphere got darker. Then, something happened that sent a cold chill down my spine. A big-name rapper, someone I recognized, walked past me. Looking pale, shaken, he was muttering to himself, rubbing his face like he had seen something he wasn't supposed to see. I barely had time to process it before a man in a white suit came up to me. "Diddy wants to talk to you." The upstairs room. I followed the man upstairs, through a hallway lined with doors. The farther we went, the quieter it got. Finally, we reached a large double door, and the man gestured for me to go inside. I hesitated. Something in my gut screamed, "Don't go in there." But before I could turn around, the man pushed me inside and locked the door. The proposition. The room was lavish, gold accents, dim lighting, a massive leather couch, and sitting there, watching me, was Diddy himself. He took a sip of his drink and gestured for me to sit. I didn't. He smirked. "You nervous?" I cleared my throat. "No, just didn't expect a one-on-one meeting." He chuckled, setting his drink down. "You got talent, kid. I see big things for you." I felt my stomach twist. I had heard the stories, the whispers about what really happens at these exclusive parties. And now, standing in that room, I realized they weren't just rumors. Diddy leaned forward, his eyes sharp. "You know what it takes to make it in this industry?" I swallowed. "Hard work?" He laughed. "That's what they tell you. But the real key? Loyalty." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "And loyalty requires sacrifice." The escape. I wanted to leave, right then, right there. But when I turned toward the door, it opened, and 2 security guards stepped in, blocking my way out. I felt my heart pound against my ribs. Diddy stood up, adjusting his suit. "I'm giving you an opportunity. You don't want to waste it, do you?" His tone was calm, too calm. Like this wasn't the first time he had this conversation. Like he already knew my answer. I forced a smile, trying to keep my voice steady. "I appreciate it, I really do, but I don't think this is my scene." A tense silence. Then, Diddy's smile vanished. He stepped closer, voice dropping to a whisper. "No one leaves until I say they leave." My blood turned to ice. The 2 security guards took a step forward. I had seconds to act, so I did the only thing I could. I ran. I shoved past one of the guards, slamming the door open and sprinting down the hall. Behind me, I heard Diddy shouting, "Get him back here." My legs burned as I ran down the stairs, shoving past people, knocking over drinks. I didn't care. I had to get out. Security was closing in fast. But then, I saw the producer, the one who invited me. He was standing near the entrance, watching me with a smug grin, like he knew this was always the plan. I didn't stop. I barreled through the front door, nearly slipping on the icy pavement. Somehow, I made it to the valet station, where a line of cars waited. I jumped into an unlocked SUV, slammed the door shut, and hit the gas. As I sped down the driveway, I saw them in the rearview mirror, Diddy's security, standing at the entrance, watching me leave. I half expected them to follow. But they didn't, because they knew I wouldn't say a word. The aftermath. I never spoke about that night. Not to my friends, not to my family, because who would believe me? I was just another nobody in the industry. And Diddy? He was untouchable. But every time I see his face on TV, I remember his words. "No one leaves until I say they leave." And I wonder, how many people never made it out? Story 3. The Sinister Offer. A night at P. Diddy's mansion. I always thought I was smart enough to spot danger, that I'd never fall for the same traps you hear about in Hollywood. But when P. Diddy's people invited me to an exclusive, high-profile party, I thought it was my chance. I had no idea I was walking into something much darker. The invitation to power. At the time, I was a rising model trying to make bigger connections. LA was all about who you knew. And when my friend Jen told me about a private party at a massive mansion in Florida, I didn't think twice. "You're gonna meet some serious people tonight," Jen said, winking. "Executives, artists, producers, the real decision makers." I hesitated for a second. "What kind of party is this?" She rolled her eyes. "Babe, this isn't some club. This is P. Diddy's party. The man who owns half the industry. If you get in with him, you're set for life." That was all it took. I put on my best dress, my highest heels, my most camera-ready smile. I thought I was prepared. I wasn't. The mansion. The second we pulled up to the estate, I knew this wasn't a normal Hollywood event. The place was massive, glowing with golden lights, guarded by huge men in black suits. As we walked toward the entrance, I saw a line of women, models, influencers, all ridiculously beautiful, being pulled aside one by one. Then, security stopped me and Jen. Phones, the guard said, holding out his hand. I hesitated. What? No recording devices allowed inside. House rules. Jen didn't even blink. She just handed her phone over like it was normal. I did the same. And just like that, we were trapped. The party that wasn't a party. Inside, the atmosphere was intoxicating. Famous faces were everywhere. Actors, singers, rappers. People I had only ever seen on TV. The bartenders poured drinks freely. Waiters offered trays of expensive cigars. And the music pulsed through the air like a heartbeat. But as I looked around, I realized something felt off. It wasn't like a regular Hollywood party. There was a heaviness to the air, a feeling like I was being watched. Then I saw him. Diddy. He was standing near the VIP section, watching the crowd, watching me, and when our eyes met, he smiled. Not a friendly smile, a calculated, knowing smile, like he had already decided something about me. The first red flag. As I wandered through the party, a waiter stopped me. Here, he said, handing me a glass of champagne. I hadn't ordered one. Compliments of Mr. Combs, the waiter added. I glanced over at Diddy. He was still watching me, waiting. I smiled politely, but I didn't drink it. Something about it felt wrong. And I'm so glad I trusted my instincts. Because the other girls did drink. And one by one, they started acting strange. Some were stumbling, giggling uncontrollably. Others looked completely out of it. Their eyes glazed over. And yet, no one seemed concerned. I grabbed Jen's arm. Hey, don't drink anything, okay? She frowned. Relax. Babe, you're acting paranoid. But I wasn't. Because then, a man approached me. And everything changed. The offer. He was tall, well-dressed, and smiling like he already owned me. Mr. Combs wants to see you, he said. A chill ran down my spine. Why? I asked. The man chuckled. He likes you, wants to make you an offer. I forced a smile. I think I'm good. His smile faded. This isn't optional. The VIP room. I followed him, my stomach twisting into knots. We passed through a side hallway, deeper into the mansion, away from the main party. And then, I saw the door. Large, dark, locked from the outside. The man knocked twice. It opened immediately. Inside was P. Diddy, and 3 other men I didn't recognize. The door closed behind me. I was trapped. The trap. Diddy gestured toward a chair. Sit, he said. I didn't move. I'm fine standing. He smirked, taking a sip of his drink. You ever thought about being famous? My throat was dry. I'm already a model. He chuckled. No, I mean real fame. The kind that makes you untouchable. I felt sick. I had heard rumors about what went on at these private parties. And now, I was standing in the middle of it. Diddy stepped closer, invading my space. All it takes, he whispered, is a little loyalty, a little submission. I took a step back, and one of the other men blocked my way. Diddy sighed. Why do they always make it difficult? The room suddenly felt smaller. The walls seemed to close in. I realized, in that moment, if I didn't get out now, I never would. The escape. I lunged for the door. One of the men grabbed my arm. I didn't think. I swung my elbow into his ribs, making him stumble back. Diddy laughed. Feisty, he mused. But I wasn't playing his game. I ripped open the door and bolted down the hall. Behind me, I heard Diddy's voice. Let her go. I didn't stop running, because I realized something far worse. They didn't need to chase me, because they knew I wouldn't talk. The aftermath. I got my phone back at the exit, grabbed Jen, and left without looking back. As soon as I got outside, I felt like I could finally breathe. But as we drove away, Jen glanced at me. Why'd you leave so early? You could have made real connections. I stared at her naivety, her blindness to what was really happening. But I didn't say a word, because I knew the truth. If I had stayed, I wouldn't be the same person anymore. Maybe, I wouldn't even be a person at all. The real horror. I don't tell this story often. Because people don't believe it. Because powerful men like Diddy don't get caught. But every time I see him in the news, smiling like he owns the world. I remember his words. All it takes is a little loyalty. And I wonder, how many others weren't as lucky as me? The end. Thanks for watching. Do you love spine-chilling stories and eerie mysteries? You've come to the right place. At JT Scary Tales, we bring you the most terrifying and thrilling scary tales from around the world. From haunted places to unexplained phenomena, our scary tales will keep you on the edge of your seat. Subscribe now and dive into the dark world of scary tales.